we're going to do the computer. Okay, let's see. Okay, I think, all right, we are recording.
Yeah,
All
I've
righty,
got the little
I'm
record
Katherine
button.
Pearson, and this is Brian Garland, and we are doing our peer interview, and he is going to take the lead. Have at it.
All right, so Katherine, I got your name, but tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from and what do you do now?
Sure. So I am from Goldsboro, North Carolina, which I love, close to the beach and right here at Seymour Johnson. So a little pride there. And then I work at Lenore Community College. I am the development coordinator, which is a fancy title for events planner. So I do all, but I mean, it's a fun and important job. I do all the fundraising for the scholarships at the school. So currently, like as soon as I jump off of this, I'm heading to Snow Hill, where I had a golf tournament Thursday at Cutter Creek, which is a gorgeous course. And we have a tennis tournament going all weekend. So that is me. And that's where I live. And that's what I do.
How long have you been in fundraising?
So, well, that's kind of a two-parter, and I'll make it short, but I've been at Lenore Community College since April of 18, so just a few years. But in 2009, I lost my husband in the line of duty, and so we started a nonprofit. But just a couple months later, we had our first event 6 months after he was killed. So that's kind of how all that started. Got that unfortunate experience, I guess you could say, that kind of helped set me up for this position. So kind of, dab in 2009 started, but that's where I am.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
But I find a lot of times the folks that I talk to in fundraising, because I have a background in nonprofit, and a lot of them just sort of fell into it in one way or another because it's not something you usually like go to school for fundraising. It's just sort of like, oh, maybe some marketing background or some customer service background, and realizing like, oh, people want to spend their money on more than just things.
Right.
So that's really great.
Right.
How do you like Lenore Ryan?
Well, I'm at Lenore Community.
Or Lenore Community College. Sorry,
yeah, I'm there. No,
Lenore,
you're good.
Brain.
No, you're good. So, but I love it. I mean, I just my executive director, my direct boss is just phenomenal. So which I had a little bit of a relationship with her because of my late husband. So we kind of have a little background together, but it's a great school. And I'm telling you now, for anybody watching this, that wherever this may end up, now's the time to go to school, especially community college system, because there's so much free COVID money out there. It's unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, yeah. You can do it. But anyway, it's a wonderful time to go to school.
Yeah, up where I'm from, and we'll get into that. We have a Southwestern Community College. It's a super strong program, and then they have like connections with Western and stuff like that as well. The trade schools up here and AB Tech as well are just like bumping right now, which is what I want to see. That's awesome.
Trade is I feel is, I mean, there we've got to have it. We've got to have HVAC and autumn mechanics, and and that's, we're really growing that in our industry as well. We're about to start a different refrigeration program and everything. So and those connections with the other universities like ECU, we have a connection with them and everything right now. So it's important. Yeah,
I think we have sort of a generation of students who went into a lot of debt for their school because they were sort of told that like, oh, that's what you do. I'm one of them. And so all those individuals who are like having kids or like their younger siblings or something sort of see that position that they're in are like, oh, I don't want to do that.
School's not for everybody. At the end of the day, school is not for everybody.
No, it doesn't need to be. That's right. Anyway, so speaking of school, why are you in the entrepreneurship classes? And are you doing the MILE program or the pure entrepreneurship side of things?
Sure, I'm doing the entrepreneurship side. And so I wanted to go back and get my master's. I just wanted to, and I really did not want to do straight MBA. It just did not excite me. I wanted to do something different, and I actually had signed up for my MBA through a different school, and fortunately, it did not work out. And so I took about another 8-9 months to research more, and I found this program. And I'm like, well, gosh, that's the business side, and it's fun, and it teaches you something that I just don't believe the MBA by any means does. I like the style of the program, the learning community, which I didn't know much about learning community then, but that's how it is. And I just think it's been great because I've met so many people. And one of my dear friends right now, I met in the first class that lives in the mountains. We've never met in person, but I mean, we talk every single week still, and she's graduated. So just
Oh,
making those connections and learning from everybody, and just the program of, starting a business from the ground up. And I feel like I'm learning so much more doing this than I would have in the MBA program. So that's how
yeah.
that happened.
I find it's a lot more dynamic.
Yeah.
Because I similar things, and we can get into that, but uh especially for someone who's not just looking for like a very traditional business to work in, not even
Right.
like start or work on, this seems a lot more practical. And so things like fundraising
Yeah.
makes way more sense, like if you're interested at all in that route, because it's like MBAs traditionally don't sort of deal with like people to people skills as often. They're sort of like networking, but it's not the same. So that's
Right.
very
And I
cool.
mean, even the earlier marketing class, believe it or not, has helped me tremendously because I have, something in my eye, I apologize. I, working with Canva and just things that, I'm older. I've been out of school for 20 years. So I've not had to use those things. I've not had to learn those things. And I now have, and it has helped me in my position now, just with a simple email, but making it pretty, or a
Yeah.
Facebook post, or, just little things. It goes a
Yeah.
long way.
So uh, taking that a step further, what do you like? What do you want to do like with this degree? Are you hoping to, well, yeah, you tell me.
Yeah. So, I mean, my business that I am doing through this whole program is a dog grooming business.
Mhm.
Um, am I ever going to do it? I don't know. I don't know. But if I do decide to do it, I'm prepared. But on the flip side, I really wanted it to help me with a potential next step of being maybe the executive director at the college, taking my bosses and position once she retires, because she is 37 years in. She could I'd already been out, but
Yeah.
she loves it, and good for her. And we love her, so we don't want her to leave. But just taking, getting ready for that position, because this program, the classes already have really prepared me for that position. So that's
Yeah.
kind of a twofold answer, but there we go.
No, that's great. That's great. And then so you're sort of like, we're all sort of making up these
Yeah,
businesses we're starting for the most part, right? Why dog washing business?
because I am a crazy dog mom, and
Well, tell me about your dogs.
okay,
So that's necessary.
I have four. I had six when I started this. No, did I have six when I started? What year are we in? 2021. I had to put my first baby down in October of 19. And
Oh,
actually about 3 weeks ago, I had to put another one down. So it's
oh,
a
I'm
horrible
sorry to hear
thing.
that.
But I love dogs, and I do not leave my dogs at a boarding facility. So because I'm the crazy dog mom. So I have someone who comes and stays at my house and dog sits when I leave. But that's why, because who better to start one than someone who understands the anxiety of an owner who doesn't want to leave their dog.
Yeah.
So one of the first interviews I did was with Barrett, who owns Eli's, which is where I actually take my dogs to get groomed. And the very first time I went there, like, I walked in to talk about it. I used to work at a vet's office, so a little
Mm.
backstory there. So I would get my dogs groomed there, and they were with me all the time. And then I got this new job. We had to stop grooming there, and I had to find somewhere. So you talk about anxiety of even leaving them for the day. I literally walked in and cried. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So it just, they have been my therapy and my comfort for, two of them were mine and my late husband's, and one of them was the first one I had to put down. And so I still have one. So it's just they're my comfort. They're my world. So
I understand. I have a little like 30-ish pound. He was our first dog. Me and my partner, we got him right out of college, the puppy. It was like I hadn't even finished college. It was like the last month of my school, and he's like maybe King Charles Spaniel English Shepherd mixed. So he's
okay.
got that same kind of like floppy ears, big appetite, a little chunkier than he should be, but it's like a longer snout, and he's not quite as like, mm, he's a little more athletic than a King Charles Spaniel. So I think there might be some Shepherd mixed in there somewhere. He looks like if you took a English Shepherd and shrunk him, put him through the dryer. Um, and then we have a purebred German Shepherd that we rescued,
Oh,
but she
very
was a
beautiful.
puppy. And she's great too. We just got her about 2 years ago. And she's the sweetest. like most loving thing, but she's quite reactive, and we've done a lot of work with her on that. So boarding is something we need to try out soon, and we have a boarder up in the mountains that we're going to try, but we want to try and find someone a little closer here. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's we understand entirely, because Igor, our younger one, he's just not a very social dog, even with people. He's like, if you'll feed me, that's fine. So he's never been like, oh, I can't wait to go to like daycare or something. He's never
Right.
been into that. And then grooming, forget about it. He's gonna have
Right.
a heart attack if you try and groom him. And then Solly's just like a German Shepherd. She's a female German Shepherd, so there's a
I
lot of
get it.
baggage there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have three doodles, and then my other one's a lab spaniel chow, Great
Yeah.
Pyrenees is what I can see, mix. And then the one that I just put down a few weeks ago, he was a Roddy Pitt, and
Mhm.
he's a sweet boy.
Yeah, I
He was
understand.
lazy, but anyway.
Yeah. Great. So my last question is just like, outside of work, outside of class, outside of the dogs, maybe, what do you like to do? Like, what's sort of your hobbies, anything like that?
Sure. Well, I just moved this past summer. So when and have a I love it. It's actually in the neighborhood that I grew up in. Mom and dad are right down the street. And so right now it's the yard. It's a
Mm.
beautiful yard to me. It's a lot of woods, and I mean, I feel like I'm in my little oasis here. Lots of crepe myrtles and azaleas and all that stuff. So right now I'm trying to get my sod to not die that I have put down. So, but I love working in the yard, anything outside. I don't care if it's, 60 degrees or, this past weekend, yesterday it felt like 109 and I was happy to be outside. So, sports and kayak and fishing, I'm just an outdoors person.
That's great. Yeah, we
Yeah.
um it's beautiful and wonderful to have an oasis like that.
Yeah.
We just moved into the city from our oasis. We're just renting. We haven't sold it. We couldn't bring ourselves that far, but having that yard was like such a blessing for the past year and a half.
Especially
Just
with
be able to
dogs.
get out and transform it and do all that stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
great.
that's awesome.
But thank you. If you want to switch gears now, thank you
Absolutely.
for letting me ask you a bunch of questions this early morning.
Absolutely. Well, mine are probably basically the same. So, Brian, just tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, what you do, and where you live.
Yeah, so I grew up in Western North Carolina, Bryson City. It's just a short hop away from Western. I actually went there for a year as an undergrad, but I transferred out, and I got a couple different degrees in music performance for my undergrad, and music performance for my graduate program as well. I went up to Boston, and got my master's of music. And then we sort of moved back to the Asheville area, and I got into working with the symphony and the youth orchestra and sort of like nonprofit side of things. And then that's kind of when I got more interested in like arts administration and administration in general. And left the symphony for a variety of reasons, and started working at Western. I started there in the very end of 2019, December 2019. And then we all know what happened a few months after that. So it was a really interesting time. And then Friday was my last day at Western, because I am now in Nashville. We moved a little bit further
Oh,
west into the big city, because my partner Sarah, she got into Vanderbilt for grad school. She's doing like a master's of ed program here, and I'm now employed by Nashville as well. This week will sometime. HR is not quite locked it in yet, but will be my first day sometime this week here at Nashville as well. So sort of transferred like all those skills that I've learned in like music and nonprofit management into higher ed, and now even more into higher ed. So it's been an interesting kind of like career track. So
that's awesome. I've been to Nashville twice and I love it. But I
it's
want to go back another time just to really enjoy it. It was for a conference each time.
yeah.
So I got to go to, the Grand Ole Opry and do,
Mhm.
downtown a little bit and stuff, but I want to actually go and enjoy it.
Yeah. We haven't had a big chance because we just moved. We did a weird thing. I was like working 2 days like in the office still at Western, so I'd have to like do a 5 hour drive twice a week.
Mm,
And then like again, our dogs took them a little bit to adjust. Our
yes.
shepherd, especially, like she'd never really had any kind of like like leave. I can't remember the name of it, but like when you leave and there's an issue, separation
Separation
anxiety. Never,
anxiety.
yeah, never really had that until now. So the first week was really rough.
Oh,
But she's gotten much better. And like today we were actually able to get out and like go alone and like walk and like eat at a restaurant and stuff. And that was nice.
awesome.
But it's my previous boss, Lane Perry, put it really well. He said, every day in Nashville is someone's vacation. And that is extremely accurate. It'll be like Wednesday morning at 9, and there will be people like, woo, partying it up. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's definitely it's gonna be a lot of fun. We will probably just avoid downtown on the weekends because
Yeah.
we're not quite that crazy
Right.
anymore.
Yeah. I bought my
But
first pair of real cowboy boots there when I was there. I was with my mom. I said, I'm buying me. I said, I don't care how much they are to an extent, but I'm buying my first pair of cowboy boots here. And I did.
yeah, I keep threatening Sarah that I'm gonna buy my Sarah, my partner, a cowboy hat. So
There you go.
we'll see where
There
we
you go.
get.
That's awesome. Okay. So why did you choose this program at Western?
Yeah, very similar reasons. Most of it honestly was the remote aspect of it. I was
Yeah.
looking at when for all of my life, I'm 33 now. So like 31, 32, when I was looking at this, I was like, I could point and be like, I want to be in music. I want to work whether that was like, I want to be a professional trumpet player, which I did for a while, or if I want to be an executive director of an orchestra, which I wanted to do for a while. And then when I left all that and went to higher ed, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of other jobs out there. I have no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted it to be in sort of a quote unquote traditional professional setting, right? I'm not looking to work for a startup that's like, revolutionizing dog food or something like that. No, I'm not interested in that at the moment. So I looked at sort of the traditional MBA because I had no idea. I just was like, I don't know, those are the skills I need to develop. But it was hybrid and some of it was in person. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that at all. And so my boss, Lane Perry, he's the executive director for community engagement and service learning at Western. That's where I was at, operations coordinator there. He said to look at the Masters of Entrepreneurship program, but particularly the Innovation Leadership and Entrepreneurship program, because those are the things I'm a little more interested in, is like fixing processes and like streamlining things within an organization, and like leadership, servant leadership, and things like that are things I'm interested in as well. So this sort of seemed like a very, he put it as an MBA, you work in a business. The Mile program, you work on a business, and I
Right.
liked that. I
That's a
liked
great
that a
way to put
lot.
it. That's a great way to put it.
And he had done it a few years back and had good things to say. So it's like, okay. And so I just took like a couple classes, like as a non-degree seeking student, because I got tuition discounts at Western. And then I finally actually enrolled in the program in the spring. So I have the rest of this semester, next semester, I'll be done next summer. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 classes left. So
Awesome. Yeah, I'll be done May. I graduate in
yeah.
May.
Yeah. I would have been done, but last fall I didn't want to take 2 classes. So those I don't know, I don't think they're in your concentration, but there's like program management classes that are kind of just construction school classes that I didn't love. But I took the first one and not the second one because I didn't want to pay for it yet.
Gotcha.
But that puts me finishing in the fall, summer.
I get it completely. Completely. So what do you think your ultimate goal is to get out of this program?
Yeah, I think that's something that's just now kind of coming into focus. And I think something like a chief business officer maybe appeals to me if I'm thinking, at the highest level, right?
Sure.
That's, you point to something like a chief business officer, maybe in a university, maybe not. I'm not necessarily tied to higher ed. I like higher ed, but I don't have to be in it. But working at like the C level or a high level, like working on financial resources, human resources, just fixing processes. I mean, we spoke a little bit about how there are certain very obvious things missing from things that we're supposed to be doing, and that kind of stuff really frustrates me when it's basically just someone didn't take the time to review things and look at it and like just do the details. And
Right.
then in addition to that, I get really frustrated when a process is unnecessarily difficult.
Right.
I see a lot of that at Western as an employee, or I saw a lot of that of just like why is this so hard? Like, why
Right.
is this paperwork so hard when it should be very easy if you just
Yeah.
do this and this? So I'm
Yeah.
interested in sort of streamlining those
Right.
kinds of
I
things.
think that's probably everywhere.
Yeah. Oh,
That
a
and
hundred
profits
percent.
everywhere.
Anytime, and maybe you see this working a and like smaller nonprofit to a bigger one, anytime you start to scale things up and get bigger, it's much more complicated, right? You're
It
just dealing
is.
with more paperwork, more red tape. Yeah, you have more resources, which is great, but it's much harder to like be nimble. It's like steering the Titanic versus like a speedboat kind of thing.
Right.
And so just like working within those to like get as much of that stuff out of the way is what I'm interested in. So
Absolutely. That's interesting. Absolutely. So what do you, of course, I guess you just moved, so I know it's going to be a little different.
mhm.
I'm sure your thing to do outside of school work and everything will be figuring out where you live and exploring it. But what what do you enjoy doing outside of the
Yeah,
mountain stuff?
similar to you, spending time outdoors. It's unbelievably hot and humid here, so we're not doing as much of that right now.
Yeah.
But once it cools down, there's a ton of like national parks or state parks, or not national parks, but state parks in this area. A lot of beautiful trails. I love trail running, mountain biking, hiking. Just spending time outdoors is one of the big things. I like board games. I'm a big fan of that kind of thing. Um, I play some video games here and there as well, but I'm not I have like friends who are really big into like Call of Duty and stuff, but that's
Right.
not quite my speed. But those are the big things, and spending time, with my partner Sarah and our dogs and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it used to be practicing a lot of music, but I'm kind of phasing a lot of that out. I'm not teaching anymore or playing as professionally. So I bought a mandolin. And so I'm going to try and learn how to play a stringed instrument if I get it back out of the closet at some point. So, yeah.
Well, so is your main instrument trumpet?
Yeah, so I started that in fifth grade
Okay.
because it was free. Because being from the mountains, my parents didn't have a lot of money, so you could either play a trumpet or a trombone because those were the instruments that were free, and the trumpet was smaller. So I chose the
I was
trumpet.
about to say a trumpet smaller, much easier to
Yeah,
carry.
yeah, exactly. And so and I was like I was a little kid. I was a little fifth grader too. Um, I wouldn't have been able to reach like the slide, the end of the thing. So, but yeah, so I played trumpet, you know, until July, basically. I was teaching, playing professionally. I played with the Asheville Symphony. I played some downstate, a lot of sub work and stuff like that. But you have to. I found that I stopped enjoying it as much when it became like the job. I was teaching at Mars Hill University. I was doing the thing, but I just stopped enjoying it as much and started enjoying other things. Like, as weird as it is, like working on my budgets and spreadsheets for work. Like that's just became more like, okay, I can do this. It's a little more stable, and playing an instrument is like a sport. Like you have to be in like a certain like physical shape, especially for trumpet. You have to practice 2 to 3 hours a day to really maintain that high level of performance. And I
Didn't
just
enjoy it
didn't want to
anymore.
do that as much anymore. So I'm hoping, especially after a little time getting settled here, to play with like one of the volunteer orchestras or something like that. Because I still would love to play, but just not have to get paid for it and worry about,
Yeah.
things like that. Oh, hello, Solly. My German Shepherd has decided to wander up. It's a good girl.
I love it. I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
mine, one of mine, my big golden doodle, I can hear it. She's been knocking at the door the whole time.
Oh,
And if I had the door open, they'd all be running. You got four and
right.
they're woo
Right.
everywhere. So that'd have been a mess. They'd knock my coffee over, computer off the table and everything. So anyway, well, I think that is really about it. I'm gonna head to this heat infested
Yeah.
tennis tournament.
Good luck.
Yes,
Good
but I
luck.
appreciate it. I'm gonna hopefully not hang up on you. If I do, I apologize.